Hello everybody. I first want to thank you all for coming to check out my final project, as well as congratulations for making it this far with class. What I decided to talk about for this final project is finding the one best way, and how does it relate to my work environment? Can it actually improve the happiness of our employees? Can it improve sales metrics? So that's something I really wanted to take a look at, and we'll dive into this more. We're going to very quickly cover the table of contents. Verizon Wireless is what this project is basically going to be covered the entire time. This is the company that I work for, and we're going to cover who is Verizon Wireless, and since I'm in sales, I wanted to find sales and really compare it to finding that one best way. Is there a best way? I'm not sure. So this is something that I just really wanted to kind of go back and forth between, see if anything would pop up that would actually be able to help me in my everyday work life. Continuing my table of contents, I want to describe to you all my environment and what it's like to be a solutions manager for Verizon Wireless in a corporately owned and operated location. So basically what this is going to cover is opening, going over numbers, promotions, employee knowledge engagement, and which really I'll get into that more in detail when I hit that point of the presentation. But floor management, game planning, obviously what we're doing is trying to sell, and we want to find better ways to do that, and really that's what this project is centered around. Resetting our employees after a hard sale, and then ultimately closing. So closing the store, but also closing sales. Finishing off my table of contents, you see that I'll be talking about Frederick Wendell Taylor and the Gilbreth Motion Studies. These are two things that we talked about during our class, and they both revolve around scientific management. Now, scientific management to me is thinking outside the box, and this is something that I truly like to do and think that it's a strong asset of mine. So that's why I picked these, but we'll get into more in them later. Purpose. The purpose of this project will be first and foremost to enlighten everyone who watches this as to how my day is constructed. Secondly, I want you all to know exactly what I do and how I impact my store, from sales to talking to customers to coaching my employees. And finally, I want to compare what I do to the idea of finding that one best way and how it could impact my store, if possible at all. Who is Verizon? Verizon has two different sides of the company. One side is the landline, which is basically your landline, your home phone for older people, and your home internet. You know, your Fios, which is available in some areas, not unfortunately in northeastern Pennsylvania. Also, you have your Verizon Wireless side, which is the industry leader in the United States in telecommunications. In 2015, we posted $131 billion in revenue, $8.5 billion in dividends. We landed number 13 on the Fortune 50 list. And also we have 160,000 plus employees. Sales. So before I started working with Verizon Wireless, I was at St. Francis. 2 months after graduation, I ended up falling into a position in Verizon. I ended up just walking into the store and seeing one of my old managers from a retail job in high school, and he said, "Hey, you should really think about working here." I thought to myself, yeah, okay, I don't really want to include myself in a minimum wage type job, and, I went to college. I think I deserve better than this. When he started to enlighten me about how much money they really make, which really opened my eyes to the whole sales idea. Because before this happened, I thought of sales as some greasy guy down at the car lot trying to sell you a junker car. But really, if done well, sales can be a pretty awesome thing. I personally don't think of myself as someone trying to force product upon someone. I think of myself as someone that's trying to give someone the best bang for their buck, or to fill holes in their life, create solutions. After all, that's why Verizon Wireless did rename our position Solutions Specialists, which are sales reps, and Solutions Managers, which I am, which is basically your assistant manager. But that's what we do. We're in the job of creating solutions. But so what is sales? Sales is basically all of that, and we get better by practicing, and we do a lot of skill drilling. So we take each other aside and we do mock conversations with customers The only way you get better and learn to sell more is by having these conversations, and when objections happen, you know really how to get around them. Also, we have this thing called learning albums. It teaches us about our products. The best way to sell a product is to know about it. So what are we looking for in metric tracking? So every company is different in what they're looking for. Generally, it's whatever makes the company the most money. So what we like to look for is growth. We want our company to grow. So we want as many customers from other companies as possible. Also, we want to upgrade our customers. If we upgrade them, that means that they're generally going to stay for about another 2 years. Third, which is actually should have been first and it's the most important, is our Net Promoter Score. So this is our customer experience, and this is our #1 metric. If this is bad, everybody's in trouble. So, you know, a lot of people, again, think of sales as, trying to force product or some greasy old guy trying to force product. But again, you know, when I work in a sales environment and our #1 important metric is a customer experience, that shows you that it's not just that there's much more to it than you think. Sales and finding the one best way. Is there one best way? That's something that I've always battled back and forth with all the time. I have reps that have been with the company longer than me, that I am now their boss. I have reps that are twice my age that I'm now their boss. I have reps that have been with the company less than I have. The one thing that you want to always consider when it comes to management is that everybody's their own person. So you're going to have to deal with different personalities and different styles to the way that they complete the task that they're assigned to do. So is there one best way? That's something that's always open to interpretation. You know, it's maybe something that's a little bit more mechanical. There can be one best way. But, you know, that's why I wanted to take on this project, because I wanted to see if I can come up with something that could really improve my work environment. So after we come up with this one best idea, how do we try to implement it? Well, first and foremost, it's education. You know, we have to have a meeting. We have to make everybody understand what the expectation is and set that bar for them so they know what they're getting themselves into. Also, following whatever type of meeting or knowledge-based learning that you can do with that employee, you want to document it, because if they start to go against it, you have the documentation in place for human resources to be able to go back and see and hold that employee accountable. Practicing is also very important, because this one new best idea, you're really going to have to try to practice it, because you're going to have to master it in order to really make it work. If you're going to, you know, implement it 50% of the time, I can tell you it's not going to work. That's something that Verizon always does. We always come up with new ideas of how to do things better, but some stores will do it half the time, which I can tell you it doesn't work. The stores that fully commit to it 100%, those are the stores that are truly going to make a difference in their work. Game planning, so that's more specific to my work environment, but game planning with a new best idea is something that we've started doing. So we might not have game planned an account before, and we had a new district manager that came in, said, hey, you know, we need to meet before we talk to the customer, see if we have any wiggle room as far as price. So if we offer that solution, we can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we can present this solution for you, make your life that much better by whatever it is, and you know, it's not going to cost you any money. It's actually going to save you X amount of dollars a month. My environment. First off, I thought it would be important to show you my organizational hierarchy. You know, as far as I would ever deal with, the highest up I would ever go to is my market president. So he basically runs, you know, the Northeast section. So that's Pennsylvania to Jersey, all the way up the coast, the Northeast direction. And then more closely to my location would be in the Philly tri-state area, which is about 50 plus stores. That would be my regional president. Then all the way down to the 8 closest stores in our area, which would be our district manager. Then down to our actual store operator, the head boss in our location would be the general manager. Down to me, which is an assistant manager, or called the solution managers. And then I help oversee the operations specialists, which basically control our inventory, our solution specialists, which are our sales reps, and our experience specialists, which basically are there to promote the experience, help customers if they need any content transferred, make them happy, deal with the smaller tech issues so that the sales reps can really dive into sales. So when it comes to being a manager, there's two different types of shifts. It's either an opening or a closing. As an opening manager, you get to the location, unlock it, and disarm the alarm, open up the cash drawers. You send your thank you checks. Obviously, like I mentioned prior, the Net Promoter Score, your customer experience, is the #1 metric. You want to update your other metric boards. You have to know where you stand in order to be able to get better and know how to coach to it. You set your expectations for the day with all your sales reps. And finally, you go over promotions. You're going to do much better if you know all of these. As a closing shift manager, you want to seamlessly take over for the opening manager. You want to be able to jump right in, and if the store is grooving well, then you kind of just want to take that and finish strong. If it's not doing well, then you really want to reset, make sure that everything is fixed, whatever wasn't going right. And then you just close up the store, close out the drawers, and send your end of shift email. Floor management. So this is what about 80 to 90% of my job entitles. We had two different roles when managers are on the floor. One is the hammer, one is the rock. The hammer is your sales-oriented manager, and that person is always keeping an ear open to find out any types of pings, anything that really makes sense for the customer, that if they drive a lot, we can present them the vehicle diagnostic feature we have, or if they have children, we have little children's phones and children's tablets, different things like that. And we're also the game planner, so if a rep goes in the back to get a device, we want to be there to say, hey, okay, so what's going on with your transaction? Is there anything that you need from me? Okay, now go back out there and go kill it. Really drive home the confidence with that sales rep. Then there's the rock. The rock is more of the smile manager. You want to make sure that everybody gets checked in, nobody's getting skipped, nobody's rowdy waiting in queue, and ultimately really drive home that good NPS score. And back to game playing, that's really the hammer role. Unfortunately, in our location, a lot of times, 62% of the time actually, there's only one manager, so you kind of have to juggle between all of these. And then resetting, that's really for all managers. If anybody's having a bad sale or a bad experience with a rowdy customer, that's something that we all take upon ourselves, making sure that a rep gets back out there and does what they can do best. Frederick Winslow Taylor. He was someone that thought that employees are not naturally motivated by the work they do. For me, that is actually entirely true. He also said that employees are naturally motivated by wages. Again, I work in commissions. That is 100% true. This is most likely why he fought for higher pay for more efficient times. He probably would have really enjoyed the commission-based environment that I work in. But also something else that he's done was, his observation. He would step back from the business and observe from afar. He really noticed what was going on with his business, as do we. We do that same thing. We'll step away from our store, we'll watch the interactions with the customers, and we'll see what's going on. When you're not in the heat of the moment, and there's not a million people yelling all around you, it's very enlightening. You can see little things that need to be tweaked that can help you out just a little bit. Maybe not truly to the topic of this paper, finding the one best way to have employees check someone in and then take the next person, but just small little tweaks that we can make our days better, more efficiently. Nevertheless, he also talked about soldering. So this is naturally slacking off at work, I guess you can say, and back to employees are not naturally motivated by the work they do, and that is common for a lot of people. I personally do what I do for money, not for the love of selling cell phones to spoiled 9-year-olds or to, 98-year-old old ladies who need to know their Facebook password. It's all about the money for me. I love making people happy, and it does make me feel good, but it is all about the pay. But Taylor also thought that you can make someone do their job better if you can remove the wasted movement. So scientifically go after the habits they've created, their techniques, rather than going after tradition. And ultimately, you know, everybody wants a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. And the book even says it, that neither side of that equation is ever happy. So this really revolves around the behavioral science of your employees. You need to find out what makes them happy and really try to implement that into every single day. That's something that, again, I do, is I find out that one of my employees likes golf. So if they complete X, Y, and Z, then they get a pass to go to wherever they like to golf for a free round or golf balls or anything of the nature. Gilbreth's motion study. So the whole point of this was to increase production and reduce output. So they essentially wanted to become as efficient as possible. Again, trying to find that one best way. And that's really where the pin example came from that, you know, really stuck out in my head from class, which is essentially why I ended up picking my final project on that topic, where they took the pins and they wanted to try to find the one fastest way to put them all in the block of wood. You know, now implementing this into my work environment is tricky because, you know, where employee 1 is great at doing X, employee 2 might be great at doing Y, but is terrible at X. So how do I take something like that and truly implement it in my workplace? I don't know if it's possible. You know, after reading over these chapters again for this project, I'm realizing it's more of mechanical-based projects that these work amazing for. So when you are in a factory, which is essentially what they are made for, you know, going back and forth with loading a factory machine and reducing your amount of steps. But something that's a little bit more conversation-oriented, that's something that it's a little bit different. I don't know if you're ever going to find one best way. You know, there might be different steps you can take if you follow this planogram of, you know, talking about what their hobbies are, to, you know, how rough are they with their phone, to if they have any family. If you consistently go after these, that might be the one best way that we can actually implement in our work, is if we follow a map of conversations to talk about to then be able to present different options at a later point. But essentially what the motion study is coming up with is more mechanical, and it's not something that's truly going to relate to my work environment, unfortunately. The conclusion and the implementation into my work environment leading to improvement. The two topics I decided to review both revolved around scientific management. When it comes to sales and being a supervisor, I believe that these are very important to me because if mastered, I could benefit from increased paychecks. The one important end-all that I will leave from this class is that everyone has their ideas, whether they are good or bad. Good ideas will improve some people, bad ideas will hurt some people. But the theme is that nothing improves or hurts every single person across the board. Everyone is different. If you truly want to manage effectively, take these ideas and apply to each person individually and mold it to that one specific person. My citations gathered from my two sources. 1, The Evolution of Management Thought. 2, Verizon, Who We Are, from Verizon.com.